flag raising.
Hello and welcome to the corner of Morris and Queen. My name is Chris Green, owner of Atlantic News, and we're here talking with Councilperson Laura White. Laura, welcome back.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and we'll start today with a discussion about transportation, and that'll lead us into a vote that occurred. This weekend's Globe, the Saturday Globe, in the opinion section, there's a couple of articles on transportation and what certain countries are doing and what Canada could do. This article, written by Teres Gresco, is entitled "The Greatest Transportation System in the World." Talks about what Switzerland started in the 1960s and where they ended up with having the best public transportation. I just wanted to read a couple of excerpts from this because it'll frame our discussion, I think. So in this article talking about Switzerland, pardon me, by federal law, every village in Switzerland with a population of more than 100 has to be served by some form of public transportation.
Wow.
A bus, a train, cog railway, or post bus, the national system of mail delivery buses which serves both cities and remote villages, on a daytime schedule of 1 hour or better. This is a way of keeping rural areas connected to the rest of the country, but it also allows city dwellers and visitors to reach remote villages and even national parks, places with a population density of 0 inhabitants per hectare, without ever getting behind the wheel of a car. This was a revelation, says the author of the piece. For just over $6,000 a year, the Swiss can travel anywhere, reliably, in comfort, and get where they're going on time. In neighboring Austria, where the cost of living isn't so high, the equivalent national rail pass costs €1,100 or $1,600. That's opposed to $6,000 in Switzerland. So in Austria, it's cheaper. In Canada and the United States, the average cost of car ownership, including payments, parking tickets, insurance, parking, and gas, is more than $12,000 a year. So that's as opposed to everybody paying $6,000 up front, but being able to get anywhere. Here we charge $12,000, and we still have headache over headache. But we have our own vehicle. Mm-hmm. That's a high price to pay, back to the article I'm reading, that's a high price to pay for a system that delivers congestion, traffic deaths, and injuries, air pollution, and, more often than not, gets us to work or school late. For half the price North Americans pay, the Swiss get reliable anywhere-to-anywhere mobility. Pretty powerful, I think.
Sounds dreamy.
Yes. Now, it sounds dreamy. Mm-hmm. There's final piece on this article. So the conclusion here. I thought of something that an American expatriate living in Zurich, a guy by the name of Norman Garrick, had told me. This is the author speaking of the article. I think we've really been sold a bill of goods in North America. We have the most expensive transportation system in the world, not because it's any good, but because it's car-based. So that's how that article ends up. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, Laura, the council before your time, and all of you now, and probably the council before that, is this correct, have been planning and setting up systems so that Halifax and the HRM, but particularly Halifax, is a city that is less dependent upon cars. Do I have that right or no?
You do. I'm just going to return to your reading of the article because things that weren't mentioned there that I think are so fantastic about that kind of system is really lifestyle. Like, that gives freedom to children, it gives freedom to seniors, it gives time to relax, it brings down your heart rate, it gives you, if you want to move around actively, it's better for your health. Like, it's just, there's so many benefits besides just getting to and where you're going from cheaply. Yes. And on time. There's so many things anyway. So that's why it sounds dreamy to me.
Exactly.
It's like a lifestyle change.
Now it's great that you're saying it sounds dreamy, mm-hmm. because the article right next to this kind of covers that wow, well, this must be Switzerland, and it's not The Sound of Music, and we don't live in the Alps. Well, the article right next to it here in this Saturday Globe it's entitled "We Get the Transportation That We Ask For, So Let's Ask for Better." This is Christoph Spieler. He's an urban planner, lecturer at Rice University. He does an opinion piece here. And the bit on this that I want to follow up with is that, and here's from the article. Over and over, we have rewarded decisions that cut costs. There was a time when Air Canada and every other legacy airline offered legroom, food, service that was far better than today. Then came WestJet, which offered less in exchange for cheaper tickets. The public enthusiastically embraced that, and Air Canada had to adjust. And while we complain about our cramped seats, we're not willing to pay for more space. Likewise, we re-elect politicians that cut our taxes and keep transit fares the same, even if the buses get less reliable.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar. This opinion piece finishes up with, so the next time you find yourself slumped at the gate as flight delay announcements keep coming, or standing at the bus stop with the sinking feeling that it might never show, or unable to drive anywhere as we wonder when the snowplows will finally appear, we should stop to ask what we can do about it. It's easy to say that something is unacceptable and to feel helpless when public infrastructure doesn't deliver what it promises. But what we're getting is what we asked for. If we want more reliable systems, we need to ask for something different. And maybe if enough people do that, we will get where we want to go when we want to get there. So that's the final piece there. And I find that very apropos to the discussion that the board had over the Windsor Exchange.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Controversial from the stuff I've been reading. A close vote. So briefly, this was a vote over to spend the money on going forward with the Windsor Exchange. This is a program that was laid out, 5 years ago? A while ago.
I believe it started in 2019 that funding was secured, federal funding to make transportation better for goods, meaning trucks.
Yeah, so the Windsor Exchange, that's right there near the Fairview Port or Cove that it's called.
Yeah.
I know Fairview dumps into there, Clayton Park, people coming from Bedford, people coming on and off the bridge, going on to Windsor. Crazy exchange, seemingly people coming from every single direction. It's also, I think, one of the only ways that you turn off there if you want to visit Africville.
Yes.
Which is...
links to Africville had been discussed there, too.
So, crazy exchange. In 2019, this cost $49 million.
The full cost, okay. Yeah.
That was the total cost.
It was 10 for the municipality's share.
Yeah, and so the municipality was going to pay 10. The feds and the provincial side donated money towards this. COVID happened. Other things happened. Now, 2025, instead of $49 million, this is costing $150 million.
Yeah, and then that's the total.
That's the total,
and then
yes.
the scope has gone up since then. The original scope was a smaller area.
I see.
And then it expanded, so that always expands the
Right.
cost as well.
I think something like 75,000 cars go through this a day.
I thought it was more, but sure. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe that's on the low end. So this is
Yeah.
a huge, and it's a traffic mess. So what will you tell us?
Yeah.
So what were you voting on? And
Yeah.
tell us about your vote.
Yeah, so the vote was there's been an extension already requested for that funding, so we're just close to the concern is to get moving with the project so we don't lose the funding and to be able to go forward.
And that deadline's coming with the federal funding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Details I can't really expand on.
But soon. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, staff is requesting to go ahead with the best design that they can come up with given the restrictions of geography and funding
Right.
and cost and whatnot. I voted no because I saw both what's important to me and many people that reach out to me, that there's no dedicated bus lane in both directions in the current design. There's kind of most of the way through inbound, but there's nothing going outbound. And the other red flag for me is just that it is designed to hold more traffic flow through. And that's just the opposite to me of what we're trying to do with becoming less car dependent. If we build our roads bigger, they ultimately, due to induced demand, drive more traffic to come in. So we'll have more people driving eventually. Like at first, if you build a road like this, it'll be better. It will relieve congestion, but it doesn't last forever. That's been proven time and time again. Every time a highway's widen, it fills up. So those two things together, I just couldn't stomach saying, yeah, go ahead, do this.
Right. And so the vote was 8 again. So you were by no means the only person. 8 no, 6 yes. The new mayor, Mr. Fillmore, he was and is a big proponent of passing this. Do I have that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting.
Well, after the fact, I understand that there was no discussion before the fact. So.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, I suppose he talked about congestion in his campaign. I just have different thoughts on how to relieve congestion, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you answer this? Why would the staff put forward a plan without a bus lane if the council has been talking over and over again and planning for more buses? How could that not be in there?
Yeah, it's because the funding, my understanding, the way I'm hearing this, is that the funding is very linked to moving goods. And moving goods is super important. It's very important to me and to all the residents of District 7 to get the trucks out of downtown. There's kind of two pieces, and I talked to the port briefly when I was struggling with what to do here. Because there's a rail shuttle concept in the making about getting the containers on the rail bed to come around to either go out of town or come into Fairview and go from there on trucks.
Right.
So there's kind of two parts. There's that piece of it, and then there's this Windsor Street Exchange upgrade so that once they're on the trucks, they can get out of town easier.
So you have a lot of trucks coming at the Windsor Street Exchange, coming into the Fairview port there to pick things up and drop things off. Is that right? You have a lot of trucks coming and going.
Yeah, and also at the south end. And
now the south end, do I have this right? In terms of the port, the great big ships that come in that don't want to deal with the bridge, they'll drop their stuff off near the park, and then that gets shuttled over to the Fairview space. But then the smaller ships can come all the way in and drop off their stuff right at Fairview.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, if that's part of the logistics. I don't know.
I think so. I think so.
Yep.
And so you have then, as you mentioned, there's this transportation with big trucks driving through downtown, and so of course there's a lot of reasons to deal with this. So the main points for the 8 votes against were this didn't have bus lanes, this didn't provide. Did it also not provide much for pedestrian or bikes?
It's
right?
improved for pedestrians and bike. Like the crossings are shorter, which is great. Multi-use paths are in the design for cycling, but that combines walking and cycling, which is not ideal. Honestly, that wasn't the stopping point for me. I could live with multi-use paths, even though they're not what we'd want long term. I could live with that, but the bus lane was the major thing for me. Both the bus lane and the fact that we're encouraging more traffic to drive.
Right.
And
the council has been and still is doing so, working in many different ways to try to get people out of cars and into public transportation.
Yeah, and it'll just never
right?
be appealing if.
Right.
How will it ever be appealing to people if we can't make it more reliable and more frequent? And we can't do that if you're stuck in traffic. And I understand this is just a little piece of the puzzle.
Right.
But every time we're making decisions about a little piece of a broader vision.
Right.
Yeah.
Another piece of the criticism is that we need to start somewhere. This traffic is terrible. You have people that have been driving through this for 5 years as this has been planned, and now this is voted down, and assuming that it's not going anywhere, we could have another 5 years before something comes in. So you have people that vote councillors in and out who might be asking, what are you doing? Is that fair?
It certainly is fair. Well, I'll just say of the feedback I've received, I'd say it's, 75% positive. And
great.
Maybe 25% with that view.
Fantastic.
But I don't, when I made this decision, in my mind, I'm not saying don't do anything at all ever. I'm just saying let's I felt like the funding may be holding us back from getting the design we want. And
Right.
like, let's design it more how we want it, and it still doesn't have to be perfect, but just get those bus lanes in there, and then seek out funding maybe from different sources. Because I think, like, for as far as improving transportation times for the trucks, like, the more people that are out of their cars and on the bus, the more the car lanes will be open for the buses.
Just less congestion.
For the trucks.
Less
And I
congestion.
mean, ideally, you'd have a lane for the trucks as well, but staff said that's not possible to have dedicated bus and truck lanes, nor is it possible to put them together. So I understand it's very complicated. I just want to try one more time.
Right.
To change another variable and see if we can get what we want.
Now, the mayor ran on fixing the transportation issues. I don't know if this was discussed before the vote, but after the vote, he's come on and said this should have happened. I'm very disappointed. But I don't know if you can speak to this, but from what I understand, the fact is that at this vote, there were 2 or 3 council people that weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, if the mayor feels so strongly about this, why would he bring up a vote when not all the council people are there?
I
Maybe you
don't
can't answer
think
that.
he directs when it comes to council. I mean,
He doesn't.
maybe he does. Maybe he does. I mean, he's involved in setting the agenda. I'm not involved in that, so maybe he does have some power to delay it. I'm not sure.
But that's not yours.
So
yes.
three people weren't able to be there for various reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's the next step from your understanding on this issue?
Yeah. The CAO sent us an email. It will come back the 24th of February is what she said. So again, I don't know the details, but I think that, other levels of government are hearing this and they're not happy, right? Like, they wanted this to go ahead. So I'm hopeful there'll be more information, and, maybe we didn't have all the information we should have had to make this decision or whatnot. Like, bring us all the information. Let us know with this decision, is there anything you can change to make it more in line with our vision? You
mentioned other levels of government. So in his election campaign, the premier, who was Mr. Houston, he talked about widening highways, making highways better so more cars could get into Halifax. He also talked about getting rid of the tolls on the bridges, and we know that getting rid of tolls on bridges will bring more cars over the bridges.
Definitely.
So we have a provincial point of view of, let's bring more cars into the city. We have a city council and the prior council that has talked about, we want less cars to be in the city. This Windsor exchange involved federal and provincial money. Now that this was voted down, do you think this is I don't know if you can comment on this, but does this not give the province the opportunity, look, the city voted this down, we're going to come in and we're going to do this, get out of the way? Absolutely.
Our whole municipal government is a creature statute of the province.
Right.
So they could do that, sure.
So that, from the point of view of the council that wants less cars, by voting this down, hasn't the council just given the keys to the vehicle to the province, who's now going to drive more cars into Halifax?
Well, what's the difference if we had...
Well, but if you vote yes, you're still a player. Meaning the council. Because you voted this in, you have skin in the game. Now by voting against this, couldn't it be read from the province of, okay, the municipal government is not involved in this anymore. They either can't get their act together or want more time, so we're going to step in and do it.
I suppose. I just didn't see it that way. I didn't see myself standing on a cliff saying, no, this means I'll never touch the Windsor Street Exchange. That's not at all how I looked at it. It's just I have to give a yes-no vote to what's in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a no to that, to those facts in that moment in time.
Right.
It doesn't mean that this week or next week we couldn't come back and tweak it and talk about how to get closer to
Right.
to our goal.
Right.
In no way do I want to stop and do nothing.
Yes.
It's
yes.
just I want to do it better, because once we do it, it will not get changed for decades.
Right.
It's
And-
decades.
And let's take that point and compare it with these articles that I was reading excerpts from. That argument there is saying we being Canada, we being Halifax, can have a better transportation system, but you actually have to want it and put things in place that build that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not unattainable, is it?
No, it's very difficult. We've built and designed for cars for 100 years now. It's very difficult to change that momentum, but we just have to think about the reasons why. It's just not working. It's not working. It's congested. And so you have to, if you want to
Right.
solve congestion, you can continually build wider roads and just tear down everything, and our whole city can be a highway.
Right.
Or you can be efficient in your transportation. And even the province talks about this, transportation efficiency. Get more people on the bus, get more people in micro-mobility. It's more efficient than having one person in every car.
And I don't want to turn this vote into a Clint Eastwood movie of someone drawing a line in the sand, but in a sense, this could be viewed as this is the council drawing a line in the sand, and we're not going to be a part of building a system that is going to lead us astray. We need building blocks that are going to lead the city to the situation that we're trying to get to.
That's my feeling. And
Yeah.
if we were missing key information, or there's, look, bring it to us. But in that day, in that moment, looking at the facts, I didn't want to see that go forward.
Yeah. So unfortunately, in the short run, the traffic will probably get worse at this interchange, won't it? Especially if tolls get off of the bridge and more people are coming off the McKay Bridge into that interchange. There's more trucks going into the port there. This is going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, the talk certainly sounds like the bridge tolls are coming off, but it's not
Hasn't happened
enacted yet. There's
Yeah.
a lot of details behind the scenes that have to go into what makes that happen, and none of that has started from my understanding. So
Right. And in talking about building that we as a community have the ability to build something if we really want it. It sounds as though, I don't know if this came to the council, but there were a number of well-known groups that very much came out against this plan. The More Than Buses, Walk and Roll Halifax, that's a witty name, and the Halifax Cycling Coalition. These are all, from what I understand, very well-known groups who came out very much against this Windsor interchange.
okay.
Yeah. So I raise that because it seems that there are different areas in the city and different groups coming from different directions that would like to get this right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so those groups are focused on transportation efficiency and also safety. So right now there's sidewalks through the exchange and crosswalks, but the crosswalks are really long and the sidewalks are right beside the road. It's not a comfortable place to be outside of a vehicle. So yeah, they're looking for separated cycle paths from the walking and for dedicated bus lanes. Yep.
Right. Have we beat this one into the ground? Can we move on, or is there anything else that needs to be said about this?
No, just it's stay tuned. It's not.
Stay tuned.
We obviously have to do something.
Right.
We are having a growing city, and as Councillor Morris pointed out, this is very close to her
This
district.
is right in her
if
backyard.
not in her district, I don't know
It is.
if it's Hinch or
It's in her front yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've been doing a lot of housing development with the idea that we're going to have bus rapid transit.
I read that. So
And we don't have funding for bus rapid transit. Even asking for these bus lanes in the Windsor Street Exchange, these are just bus lanes. They're not bus rapid transit yet. They're just our current bus system trying to get out of the congestion. So how can we keep building housing in these places we've designed to have a transit system with no transit system?
Well, the money was invested based upon the fact that people that came and lived there could get rapid transit. Yes. So these discussions matter, don't they?
I mean, imagine buying out there and, thinking that you can rely on the bus and then being like, oh my gosh, this is taking me hours or.
Yes.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Mm.
Next, another issue that came up, and I've read a little bit about, but I need some help deciphering it. This notion of the key performance indicators, KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, staff came up with KPIs to measure if council is successful in their work. Is that right?
Both council and the municipality as a whole. And there's
municipal
council
goals,
priorities and there's administrative priorities. So those are spelled out in our strategic plan, which is currently set. It's 2021 to 2025. Not exactly sure when those end, like if that's calendar year. But we're starting next week on Monday. That was one of the things I was going to say. We have a strategic planning session for the next version of that.
I see. Okay.
Strat plan. But anyhow, so we have a strat plan. And so annually they give an update saying how we're doing on that.
The staff. So they say, here's how you're doing on your goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so KPIs are key performance indicators. It's like data they're using to say if we're advancing this goal or not.
Great. And this came up in the news. This was actually an article in the local newspaper.
Okay.
Gasp. Articles in the local newspaper.
Okay, I didn't see
that. And what was laid side by side was there was a survey, results of a survey given to the council saying a large chunk of people are unhappy with the current situation with living in Halifax. It's too expensive and all these issues. So there are high numbers of dissatisfaction, but then the KPIs came back where 66% of the KPIs said that they were at a desirable level. So I guess that sets up a situation of, is this measurement tool at the right level?
Yeah, and I guess that's on a more personal level, that's where it is. It's like, you look around and you see things and you see these strat plans. You're like, wait a minute, there's a mismatch. Like on paper, well, I mean, for me,
we're meeting our goals, right?
Like just living my life, like I didn't know the integrated mobility plan existed a few years ago. And then I saw it. I saw an ad for it at the ferry terminal. I'm like, this is amazing. What a great plan. But it's still a plan. It's still a vision. It's not, it's very slowly coming to life. And so, yeah, people are looking for more progress towards meeting those strategic good goals that we have.
So
how do we get there?
So what's the takeaway from this topic that came up at your council meeting? Is it that you are relooking at the goals, looking at how you measure them, or none of the above?
The measurement's very important. And one thing I did learn from the discussion at council is that those KPIs were kind of set in place at the beginning of the strat plan, so 2021, and we're still using the same ones 4 years later. So it's becoming evident over that time that maybe those KPIs are just not hitting the mark to really measure the titles and the items we're trying to do.
And who would set those or reset those KPIs?
Exactly, and that was part of the discussion. I was asking, like,
it's an open question.
Can council be involved? Yes, council can be involved. So I think staff,
but that does,
as we do our next strat plan, the council does get to have some involvement in approving those KPIs or not.
Because I guess you could get in hot water. It could be difficult, uncomfortable. If you're setting the way to measure your own goals, you could be accused of... I suppose,
sure.
The measurements aren't...
But let's just make it make sense. Like,
but that's what's being talked about.
Like for me, I was looking at like the affordability goal and affordable communities. And we don't talk about transportation in there, like the cost of transportation. And to me, that's a huge one. Like that's a huge one that we are players in. We run a transit system and we build the roads.
Yes.
And we're not talking about the affordability of getting around. So to me, that's a mismatch.
Okay. What else do you either happened or is happening that you'd like to mention? Do you get together with? Are there set coffee hours or times when constituents can meet with you?
Yeah, I've done that twice. I'm trying to do these coffee drop-ins. just as a way for people to reach out and have a 10-15-minute conversation. And if there's more, then we'll set up a meeting for later. So I've done that twice.
Great.
And I'm set to do it again February 6th at the Bird's Nest Cafe from 10 to 12. So that's been fun so far. It's
nice. And that's a great place to go anyway, to get a cup of soup and a coffee. So
there you go.
Nice. And I imagine you have a newsletter, so if people want to go look this up, they can find out.
It's coming. I'm still kind of struggling with that, but I'm working on a blog post.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got kind of two softwares that I need to figure out. We've talked about this. So
Yes,
there's the blogging, and then there's the distribution. And I got to link them up. So
good luck.
Yep. Yeah. So coffee thing. I guess I had a couple things looking back, and then a couple things looking forward. So this week, very sadly, another pedestrian was killed in our district, in our city.
Where was that?
Young woman. It was on Jubilee, Veterans Memorial, kind of where Veterans Memorial and Jubilee Road intersect at Roby Street.
Okay.
That intersection. I believe, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but it seems as though the driver was intoxicated. So that's just extra. It's just extra sad.
And this is another one. We talked about one of these last time.
Yeah. So there's this young woman, and then the woman hit by the bus. That was in October, and then not sure the status of the person, but the person was sent with life-threatening injuries to hospital from having the door open to them, and they were cycling on. So those are three like really major safety incidents in our district. It's really sad, and it's too much, and it's a big reason why I'm passionate about transportation, is making it safe for people.
So those three things, this is too much. Does this just ties in and is embedded in the discussions of how to make transportation better? I mean, do you take these and say, here's what I'm going to do next? Or no, it's not that easy, but.
Well, like for instance, we're coming up on budget. I'm going to be doing whatever I can to get the road safety budget increased, because I feel this is a problem.
So with these cases, they were all different. What would be something that we could spend money on in terms of road safety that could help prevent these, for example?
Well, I have to talk with staff and see what they're okay with doing. But, I mean, light timing is one thing I know they do work on for sure. It's like, so I forget the terminology, but basically when you have your walk light, that it's just you walking. No one's going to be turning left in front of you if you're crossing the street. So signal timing is definitely something they're working on. I'd like to see more infrastructure improvements, like protected intersections. So there's bollards or curbs at the corners of intersections to make the crossing shorter and a little protection.
Great.
Thanks. So it's a combination of conversation on what we can do, and then budget.
I see.
More budget to work on it. Yeah.
I see. What else in our last moments here?
Well, I guess positive news. I had a meeting with staff about the Brunswick Street active transportation and streetscaping project that is coming forward. They've been working on that for a number of years, and so there'll be partially permanent and partially tactical bike lanes installed along Brunswick. And the part I'm quite excited about is at Brunswick and Sackville, where there's currently a slip lane coming if you're turning right from Brunswick onto Sackville going up beside Citadel Hill. That's going to be gone, and this will become a bit of a plaza and an entryway into the Citadel. So it'll be a safer intersection and a place to showcase the Citadel. And it sounds like it's going to be a really nice public space.
Nice.
I'm excited for that.
Positive news to celebrate. Yay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and then just the week ahead is really budget. I mentioned that strategy session on Monday, and then the rest of the week is budget meetings. So
okay.
Dive in there.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, Laura White, thank you for joining us. You have many different areas that are pulling at your attention, and hopefully within a couple of weeks we can meet again and get another update.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.